we got our best indication yet that Caitlin Clark is on her way back toward a return for the Indiana Fever. Stephanie White did talk about Caitlin Clark, and I thought the comments were fairly telling. Here's what she had to say.
Caitlin, able to go through your little walkthrough or whatever you normally do, and what do you want to see ultimately to get comfort whenever the time comes?
Caitlin Clark has officially returned to practice, and it's sending shockwaves across the WNBA. After missing several weeks with a tough groin injury, Indiana's young superstar is back on the court. The big question now, is she rushing the comeback, or is this exactly the spark the Fever need to change their season's momentum? What's certain is that her return won't go unnoticed. Fans are hyped, rivals are on edge, and the conversation is heating up fast. While Indiana celebrates, other teams who've been throwing shade at Clark all year might be feeling the pressure. So what do you think? Should Clark keep pushing through this season? Or would it be smarter to rest and focus on coming back 100% healthy next year? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
We went through our walkthrough yesterday. Today it was very short, prior to game time. But she went through it yesterday, and I want to see her in practice. Live in practice. Want to see her continue to work to not just build endurance, but to be able to handle contact 94 feet as it's going to be in game, and to be able to do that and sustain from an endurance standpoint. And that's going to take multiple practices to make sure that there's no regression. And as most of us know, when we get fatigued, we look different, and see how she plays through fatigue.
The moment Caitlin Clark stepped back onto the floor, the balance of the WNBA shifted. On paper, the league sells itself as competitive and balanced, but everyone knows who really moves the needle. From ticket sales to broadcast deals to viral clips online, Clark's impact touches every corner of the game. Even if she's not fully back to peak form, just her presence changes the outlook for Indiana and reshapes the playoff race. And you can bet that star players like Angel Reese, Aya Wilson, and even the commissioner aren't thrilled about it. Clark's comeback disrupts the storylines they've been trying to push ever since she arrived in the league.
You see Caitlin Clark, this video captured by Chloe Peterson at Shoot Around. You can see Caitlin doing some work right there, just, warm-up work, back and forth on the court, but nonetheless on a basketball court. It's been a long time since we've seen Caitlin Clark on a basketball court. Certainly a long time since we've seen Caitlin Clark play basketball.
When Clark first went down, the reaction around the WNBA was almost universal. Indiana's season was in serious jeopardy. This wasn't a short absence either. She missed close to 2 months, the kind of gap that can completely derail a team's year. To make matters worse, the Fever were already banged up. Sophie Cunningham was out, Chloe BBY was sidelined, and both Sydney Carlson and Ari McDonald were shut down. What remained on the floor resembled more of a patched-together practice unit than a legitimate playoff squad. Without Clark's ability to draw defenders and stretch the floor with her shooting range, Indiana's offense lost its identity. The rhythm disappeared, and the results reflected that slide.
Because if you look at the Fever injury list, it's just wild to see. It's like the Star Wars scroll at the end of one of those movies. It's just a endless list of players who have been out, back out of the lineup again, and really just a lineup that you could build if you were the Indiana Fever. You could roll out there if you were experimenting, depending on the situation and the nature of the game.
Jump to this week, and suddenly the mood has flipped. Clips from practice surfaced online showing Clark in uniform again, knocking down jumpers, jogging the floor, and dropping dimes to teammates. She hasn't been cleared for full contact just yet, but the sight of her moving with ease was enough to send Fever fans into a frenzy. Social media lit up instantly with hot takes, memes, and predictions about her first game back. At the same time, you can bet league execs were locked onto those videos, uneasy about what comes next. Because the truth is clear, without Clark, the WNBA feels like it's still fighting for relevance. With her back in the mix, the entire equation changes.
And there was a little bit more footage here, and you see Caitlin involved on the floor yet again, even handling the ball, working with her teammates. I mean, that's an important sign there to see her working with her teammates.
Seeing her back on the floor working alongside teammates is encouraging, but it raises a tough question. Should she actually return this season? The cautious voices say no. They argue that protecting her long-term health matters more than rushing into a shaky playoff run. Groin injuries can linger, and another setback could be far worse. On the flip side, there's enormous pressure pushing the other way. Fever fans, TV partners, and the league's marketing machine are desperate to see her suit up again. They're not worried about 2 years from now. They're focused on ticket sales, packed arenas, and must-watch playoff storylines right now. And let's be real, the commissioner isn't losing sleep over Clark's career longevity. What she wants is the league's biggest drawback on the court to boost the bottom line.
I noticed when you're asking about Caitlin a lot, you bring up other rookies as well.
No league's ever about one player. That player could get hurt or whatever. So I think it's just to give recognition that in sports, people watch for compelling content and rivalries. And you can't do that alone as one person.
This whole discussion isn't only about Clark's health. It's about the ripple effect her return sets off across the league. Picture her suiting up in a must-win matchup against the Sparks. Instantly, Indiana's playoff chances surge, while teams like Los Angeles and Golden State are suddenly scrambling to adjust. A fully active Clark doesn't just elevate the Fever, she reshapes the entire playoff landscape. And that's exactly why some of her loudest critics are nervous. Angel Reese has built her name off framing herself as Clark's rival, and Aya Wilson hasn't exactly hidden her envy. But all the trash talk and shade lose their power if Clark comes back and takes over the floor again.
Look like we may actually have some legitimate movement in the direction of Caitlin Clark coming back, and I will sort of look at the schedule with you guys and try to determine what game I think she might actually show back up in.
For Indiana, Clark's absence has been a harsh reminder of how much she means to this team. Aaliyah Boston hasn't been the same force without Clark delivering those pinpoint entry passes and stretching defenses. Kelsey Mitchell has been grinding night after night, pouring in 20-plus just to keep the Fever within reach. But too often it feels like wasted effort without Clark setting the tempo. That's why fans have latched onto Mitchell's scoring outbursts like their lifelines. It's survival mode basketball. And everyone knows there's only one player capable of flipping that script, Caitlin Clark.
Against the Sparks, and this is a big game because the Sparks are right there with us in the playoff race, and they hold tiebreakers. By the way, so do the Valkyrie. All right, we do have one win. I believe it's one win over the Mercury, and then we've got a Sky team that we should beat, a Mystics team that we should beat, but you can't. I mean, who knows? I think they beat us in the last game. And then we close out the regular season with the Lynx. We're not making the playoffs without Caitlin Clark. There. Yeah, I said it. We're not making the playoffs without Caitlin Clark. I don't think.
And here's where things get even more interesting. Clark's return doesn't just supercharge Indiana's offense. It puts every critic on blast. Coaches like Cheryl Reeve, who've been quick to downplay her impact, suddenly have to game plan for her again. Players who took shots while she was sidelined now run the risk of being embarrassed the moment she drills a 30-footer from the logo. With Clark on the floor, the Fever transform into a completely different team, one that opponents know can strike at any moment. And that threat is exactly why the rest of the league is nervous.
All right? And it's these two games that are the big pivot games. Sparks, Valkyries. That game right there, that Friday night game, I have a feeling that she might actually return for that game.
And let's not ignore the referees. These are the same officials who've let Clark absorb hard fouls, shoves, grabs, even an eye poke, without much protection. Do you think they're eager for her return? Not likely. Every game she plays from here on out will be under a microscope, with fans dissecting missed calls on social media within seconds. The refs know it, the league knows it, and the audience knows it. Clark's safety isn't just about her career. It's tied directly to the credibility of the WNBA itself. But maybe the most intriguing part of this story is Clark's mentality. She's not built to sit on the sidelines. This is the same competitor who dragged Iowa through brutal March Madness runs, the same player who thrives when the pressure is crushing. Sitting and watching her teammates blow leads has only made her more restless. So if she feels ready, she's going to push to play. The real question is whether Indiana's medical staff or the commissioner's office tries to hold her back for their own reasons. Because make no mistake, the league wants her on the floor, but only on their terms. Clark, though, has never been one to follow anyone else's rules.
Not necessarily probably team practices, but being able to put together, threes, fours, and different things that we can go against and match up with.
Great follow-up question by Tony East there, because that's been a question that people have wondered, is there even enough practice time? And a nice distinction drawn by Stephanie White there, which is important, which means she needs to see Caitlin Clark in practice, but it doesn't have to necessarily be official team practice, meaning they will be able to replicate what a practice looks like.
Honestly, when you step back and look at it, it's kind of absurd and a little funny. Other WNBA stars miss a few weeks, and the only people who notice are diehard fans debating on Reddit. But Caitlin Clark? She merely picks up a ball in warm-ups, and suddenly the whole league feels like it just shook from an earthquake. Saying the WNBA is in panic mode is an exaggeration. It's reality. The league's momentum, attention, and drama all hinge on her presence. And here's the wild part. Even at 80%, if Clark comes back sharp, she could turn the playoff picture on its head overnight. If she can't go, the Fever are in serious trouble, and the league knows that without her, the spotlight dims fast. Looking at Indiana specifically, the Fever are barely clinging to a playoff spot. They've cobbled together a lineup with bench players, rookies, and anyone else they can find. It's so rough that if Indiana held open tryouts tomorrow, no one would even bat an eye. Without Clark orchestrating the offense, the team has been spinning its wheels, losing leads, and giving away third quarters like they were handing out free samples. It's not basketball, it's pure survival mode.
They're not going to sit there with Caitlin Clark healthy and ramping up and just leave her there when they're in the playoffs if she's ready to go. They're going to figure that out on the fly, is how you take those comments. You also take them to mean that Caitlin Clark is back participating with the team, which we got a hint of on Sunday. They've been behind closed doors since then. You start to look at the schedule. I mean, I think at any point, it's getting more and more realistic. The more the Fever win without her, the more time is bought. Like, the ideal date may be that Chicago game on September 5th, and since it's at home and there's space between. But you can't totally rule out the road trip either, which still has the 29th, the 31st, and the 2nd.
Clark's return won't solve every problem overnight, but it gives the Fever something they've been missing for weeks: life. Just having her on the court immediately shifts the whole dynamic. Defenses collapse toward her. The floor opens up, and suddenly Aaliyah Boston isn't being smothered every possession. Kelsey Mitchell doesn't have to play superhero for the full 40 minutes. Even if she's not at full speed, Clark's sheer presence makes Indiana a legitimate threat again. And that's exactly why rival teams are on edge. The Sparks, the Valkyries, even the Mystics, they all know what's coming. They don't want her back right now. Why? Because Clark doesn't ease into games. This is the same rookie who walked into the league and casually sank logo threes like it was routine. She doesn't creep onto the floor. She storms in at full speed. If she's cleared to play, someone's about to get burned, and the bubble teams know it could be them.
Caitlin Clark is clearly ramping up, not being shut down. Now, there can always be a setback, but it seems like things are trending, certainly, in a positive direction. So for all the doom and gloom, and of course, I'm not sitting here telling you the Fever are winning the championship or anything, but it feels like their fight is being rewarded. That team is playing hard. They're playing well. People are coming in and playing well on the fly, and Caitlin Clark has healed up.
Meanwhile, the WNBA has found itself in a tricky spot. Over the past month, they've had a break from the nonstop Caitlin Clark coverage. No highlight reels dominating SportsCenter, no trending clips analyzing whether officials were protecting her, no endless talk show debates. The league coasted through a quieter stretch that only hardcore fans noticed. But now, with her return on the horizon, the spotlight is snapping back. Every foul, every shove, every missed call is viral material again. This isn't just inconvenient. It's the kind of scrutiny the league office despises. When Clark is on the court, millions of eyes are watching, making it impossible to hide officiating mistakes. Then there's the playoff math. Without Clark, the Fever are barely surviving. The Sparks hold critical tiebreakers. The Valkyries are breathing down their necks, and a single loss could end Indiana's season. There's no room for splits anymore. They need a win streak, plain and simple. That's why her potential return is being treated like a marquee event. If she suits up against the Sparks, it's a do-or-die scenario. A loss could be season-ending. A win suddenly reinvigorates Indiana and shakes up the playoff picture, making every team nervous. That's not just pressure. That's full-on panic, because everyone knows the WNBA can't afford to have its biggest star watching the postseason from the sidelines.
I know a lot of you are like, why come back? Why come back? Well, look, if she's back and she can get in the flow and she does need to come back, I think with several games to go to get back and try to find her first rhythm for the year, really and truly, getting a good, then yeah, they become very dangerous with a big three. And look, I'm using that term loosely because Aaliyah Boston has not been great lately. Big 2.5.
Let's be honest, Clark's comeback isn't just about Indiana. It's about the WNBA's visibility and relevance on the national stage. This entire season, the league has ridden her star power, sold-out arenas, spikes in TV ratings, top-selling jerseys, and endless social media clips. Whether the shot goes in or rattles out, if it's Clark, it's destined for a highlight reel. The league knows it, the fans know it, and so do the sponsors. Without her, the playoffs feel routine, Liberty versus Lynx with the same recycled storylines. With her, casual fans start paying attention again. That's why the commissioner and league officials will be thrilled if Clark is back in time to guide Indiana into the postseason. And don't overlook the Fever fan base. Over the last 2 months, they've endured heartbreak. Watching their team lose big leads, look like a patchwork squad, and play uninspired basketball without their leader. Comment sections have been flooded with pleas for Clark's return, memes poking fun at the team, and non-stop fan chatter. The moment practice clip surfaced, optimism exploded, as if Indiana had just hit the jackpot. Now, every fan is asking the same thing. When will she finally step back onto the court?